Welcome into the Ace Craftsman Workshop. We're with handyman Sean Buino. Sean, when I heard the word crown in our project today, I thought you were officially gonna anoint me the DIY king.
You're gonna be the jester, and I'm gonna be the Duke of DIY.
Per usual.
Now listen, all jokes aside, we're gonna take on a pretty serious project today. It is installing crown molding in your home.
As usual, we need to make sure we have the right tools and supplies before we start the job. And for this one, we have quite a list. In addition to your molding, you'll need a stud finder, an angle finder and crown molding jig.
There's little diagrams on here on how to position our blade and how to position the jig. And this is gonna make our life way easier.
A tape measure, a notepad and pencil, a nail gun, safety gear, a ladder, painter's caulk and a caulk gun, some trim paint, a sanding block, paper towels, and the big one.
The main tool that we're gonna use today is the miter saw. And if you don't have one, go out and rent one, borrow a friend's. But this is definitely something that you need for this project.
Most crown molding you buy is gonna come primed like this stuff. It may be easiest to go ahead and paint the molding before it's up on the wall, but keep in mind, you'll wanna give it a final coat when the project is complete. Now, on to the next step, where Sean begins with finding the studs and marking them along the top of the wall. This is so that we know where to nail the molding later.
The next information I want to get right away is the measurement of this angle on the walls. And we're going to go ahead and put the round part into the corner, just like that. So our angle finder did verify that this corner is 90 degrees, so that's really great. It makes things a lot easier.
Sean introduces a new term to me, something called a spring angle. The spring angle is the angle at which the molding sits off the wall. Your most common spring angles are 38, 45, and 52 degrees. Wider angles being great for taller walls. Today, we've got a 45-degree spring angle, which we'll set on the dial at the bottom of our jig.
So we're gonna just determine where we want crown molding. Now, it's pretty obvious in this corner that we want a piece on the left side and a piece on the right side. Yeah. I would also like to put a piece on the ends so I can show you both types of cuts.
But before we make any cuts, we have to measure the length of the wall. In this case, our walls are exactly 72 inches each.
Now, we have to determine what kind of corners that we need for this piece of crown molding, okay? So the two corners that you have are inside corners and outside corners.
Okay.
Now the first piece that we're cutting is this left side. So this is essentially our left inside corner.
Yep.
And we're gonna go to our chop saw and to our jig. Now remember those little diagrams on the jig?
Yep.
Okay, so I want you to take a look at this. And it's got our instructions to make a left inside corner.
Oh yeah, there you go.
And all we're gonna do is position the saw blade this way, so we gotta swing this around.
Oh yeah.
And the jig is gonna go on the right side.
Nice.
Okay? We're gonna lock it in at 45 degrees. Typically, your top of the crown molding is gonna be the heavier side of the molding.
Yeah.
And the bottom's gonna be the small detailed end, okay? And so notice here, we've got the detailed side, the bottom, is gonna be on top of the jig. That's really important, okay? Okay, we're ready to cut piece number one. And do you remember our measurement from this wall?
72 inches.
72 inches. So I wanna go a little bit longer than 72 inches because we're gonna have to make another cut later on. Ryan, we've got our first cut done. So let's go ahead and make the cut for the other side of the crown molding.
Okay.
So this is going to be an outside corner.
Always measure your angle before you make a cut for any corner. Most homes won't have a perfect 90 degrees. And in fact, this outside corner is actually a 94-degree angle, which means we have to set our saw at half of that, 47 degrees for the cut.
For an outside corner, we have to add a little bit of room so we can get that angle that comes off of the wall.
Yeah.
Because if we cut it right at the 72-inch line, the crown molding would stop short of meeting the other piece of crown on the opposite side. Okay, let's see if we did this right. And we want the top of the crown to hit that wood, which is representing our ceiling. I'm gonna adjust this corner here. Okay, can you hold that in place there? I'm gonna go back to our stud markings, which is right there, and we should hit a stud right here. And go right up into the ceiling. Go ahead and let go. Okay, it's in place and we have a little flexibility on the corners so we can get those miters right.
Wow, all that work just to get one piece of molding in place. But I have to admit, it does look pretty good. Now we'll repeat the steps with the remaining molding and finish up these walls.
The hard part is done, okay? But the boring part we have to do, okay? We've got some seams, we have some nail holes. I want to get some caulk in there, some painter's caulk, high quality painter's caulk. So we'll start with the nail holes. The next thing I want to focus on is the seam.
We tag team this part of the project and then wrap it up by sanding the spots we caulked once it's dry. Now would also be a good time to give your trim a fresh coat of paint. This one was tough, but very satisfying. It could take about a half a day just to get one room done, but at around $150 for supplies, it's a pretty inexpensive way to make your walls look great.
I bestow upon thee, Duke of DIY. Nice job, Ryan. Hey, you did really good stuff here. It's slow going, but it's a great payoff. As you can see, it just adds character to any room. Definitely a great way to improve your walls. You did a great job.